Hello, welcome back to another segment in excerpts from A Spiritual Ascension. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for those who have subscribed and are following along with me. Thank you for the donations from certain ones. I really do appreciate that. You really don't know how much I appreciate that. It's kind of like I knew there was a time where I needed to stop doing, and it come your time also, stop doing my secular 9 to 5 job and concentrate on following my spiritual path and dedicating my entire time to teaching. So it's not like I went through all of these years of research and trying to understand so much about the universe and cosmos and the ascension process and metaphysics to come to this point of saying, okay, it's time to teach what I know. Okay. Um, as you can see, I'm in my fall colors already. For those in the northern hemisphere, I absolutely love fall. My favorite time of year. And as soon as it hits September 1st, to me, that's like New Year's Day. Um, New Year's Day is January 1st. It's not New Year's for me. September 1st is New Year's. There's something about that change in the air, that freshness. Maybe it's the like kids going back to school, the crispness, crispness in the air. Of the cooler, season coming on, the colors of pumpkins and all that good stuff, which I just absolutely love. Anyway, another reason why I'm so happy to be up here in New England, because it's like a really big thing up here. So these last 2 months, I've been spending a lot of time doing some really deep research. And it's kind of like the universe saying, what do you want to know? And I did so much research in when I studied metaphysics and before that, and doing learning about the flow of energy when I became a Reiki Master, and you name it, I've learned it. And I wanted to understand the deeper um, the deeper parts of how we came to be here. Like, what is the true story? I remember, and I think I've told kind of this story a little bit before, each one of my grandparents. So back in 2014, when I made first contact with my father in spirit and also my son in spirit, um, realizing that they were still alive, but just on the other side, they were in spirit because both had passed, my father in 2003 and then my 19-year-old son in 2007. And I just thought they were gone. That's the way the religion that I was brought up in was taught me, that they were just back to the dust again. They did not exist whatsoever. And when a psychic medium brought them forward for me, there was this big awakening to say, oh my goodness, like for 40 something years, I was taught that people, when they pass away, they are just gone. Do not exist anymore. And my father and my son are still here with me, helping me. Once I went on my journey, along this journey also, my father had laid out all these instructions for me to, follow this path towards Maine. And my son, he's with me, he's in my aura. Anyone who is a medium can actually see him in my aura, and it's pretty fascinating. Um, and I think that's another thing for anyone that's here who has lost a child. Um, know that they are with you all the time. They are within your aura. They never leave you. Okay. Anyway, getting back to my grandfather, along this pathway, this preparation time before I started my ascension journey, each one of my grandparents came forth to give me some kind of instruction. So, first, my maternal grandmother came forward to let me know that I had these gifts, these abilities that were passed on from her and her mother, through my mother, who decided to, because of religion, were suppressed. And even when I was very young, up until probably around 4 or 5 years old, I had a lot of, you say, visions and very in touch with the other side of the veil. However, because usually after 5, you go to school, or I was in this religion that made me suppress all of my gifts. So my grandmother had come to me to say, you need to bring your gifts back out again. And later on, my maternal grandfather came through and he said to me, I was the one that brought you out of that religion. And that would like really hit me because I remember asking my mother, like, why did you become a part of this religion? And her and my father had met at their so-called church, and they got to know each other there, and then it ended up getting married. I think my mother was only 18 and my father was 21 at the time. So I said, how did you end up there in the first place? And she said that it was her father and her stepmother, her father's new wife, second wife, who had started going there when she was about 9 years old. And so she grew up in the religion. And now, she ended up getting married when she was 18. And they continued on in the religion and then had me and my 2 older sisters. And we were also brought up in this religion. And if you know the religion I'm talking about, we had to go 3 times a week, spend 5 hours a day in church. Um, and you were also supposed to do your own studying during the week to prepare for these so-called meetings um, that we would discuss Bible texts. I didn't learn till later on of doing a lot of research, understanding that this particular religion had gone ahead and kind of changed, well, not kind of, they did change a lot of the translation of the Bible to kind of fit their own narrative. And there were certain things that didn't add up, but you're told to just believe, to accept, and never question. Questioning the religion is questioning God. So my grandfather again come through to me through a medium and had said that I had brought you out of that religion. And he said to me, do you feel guilty about that? And I had to think for a minute, and like, I think the guilt came because I left when I was about 26, I think, around 26 years old. No, it was a little late, maybe 27, 28. And I just stopped going. And my, whole family was still heavily involved in the religion. So once you leave, and the other family members are told to shun you, to not have any social contact with you, um, to make you feel guilty that you're no longer attending these meetings, and that that will make you want to come back because your family doesn't want to have anything to do with you. And there was this part of me that hurt really, really bad, that especially my sisters were um, shunning me in a way. Like we would talk on the phone and things like that. But as far as social contact, them having anything to do with me, matter of fact, let me give you a great example of that. When my son graduated high school, um, I had invited them to the graduation. They came up, and my mother and my two sisters took my son out for like brunch before the actual graduation ceremony. And I was not invited. I forgot about that. Wow. Woo. Because if you've been following along my story, you know about the wedding, my nephew's wedding, that I was not invited to either. So I totally forgot about that. Wow. So I sat at home while my own son was taken out to brunch with my sisters and mother for a son that I produced and had helped him go through these years of school. And, he was top of his class, on the honor roll and stuff like that, a scholar. And now I'm thinking about it like, okay, let me bring it down. Anyway, my grandfather had said, "Do you feel guilty about that?" And I said, "I don't feel guilty about leaving the religion, but the guilt had come from the way my family had been treating me to make me feel guilty." So that always stayed with me, to say, and then really questioning. I know when I had this spiritual awakening to really understand this religion that I was in back in 2012, and saying, oh my goodness, I can't believe that I was a part of this. And that I believed that there was this God who was so destructive and jealous that he was willing to kill women and children, and just kill people, thousands of people at a time, because it was only this God that needed to be um, worshipped. And I said, I can't, there's no way that I can worship this God who I had believed for so long was my God, but I didn't question it. Anyway, over these past 2 months, I said to the universe, to spirit, to the divine, help me to understand how this all is. Who is this God that is in the Bible, that we are supposed to, or society, or most people, or believe that um, Christianity, that, or I can't even just say Christianity, because it's also, um, I just learned this new term. I don't have the word here, monotheistic. I can't say it. um, that believing in one God over all other gods. And I always had that question to say, well, if there's only one God, who are all these other gods? But in the Bible, kind of understanding that, there was, I don't know if they call it Baal, something, a god, and there was these, statues of gods from other, you know, that weren't a part of the original, like, descendants of Adam and Eve and Abraham and stuff like that. So after really thinking about it and really starting to dig deeper and going down my rabbit hole of trying to understand all this, I said, there was a time where I was so mad, so angry at this religion and didn't want to have anything to do with it, didn't want to have anything to do with the Bible. Like, how could I have been brought up to believe such hard things that, these horrible things that this God told others to do. Um, so if you know about Paul Wallace, look him up. And he has helped me so much to really understand. And it's like, oh my God, it all makes sense. It all makes sense. Anyway, I'm not going to get too much into that, but I never just listen to one person. Okay. I always, like I say, I go down my rabbit hole. I listen to this one and this person and this person. I'll read this, read that, and I kind of put it all together, take bits and pieces from each thing to try to put something together for my own understanding. Okay, it's not for anyone else's understanding, it's for my own understanding. And taking what I would have been learning and saying, oh my goodness, it all makes sense finally. Here I am, almost 60 years old, and saying, now that I just told you my age, and saying, now at this age, I'm just learning the true beginning of life. Here he goes again. Somebody, they're cleaning out there. Anyway, um, I was saying all that to say that as much as I had started to actually hate was coming into me for this religion. And I had to kind of smooth that over to understand that, you know what, all the experiences that we go through in life have meaning for our paths. So never look at it and experience. I mean, yeah, if I can't, there's things that we go through as children, something may happen to us as children, which happened to me, but that was a part of our path. Okay. And that was a part of our growing, you know, um, not to ever take anything away from the hurt and the pain that you've gone through because of if you had a situation like that, and you know what I'm talking about has happened to you. It's happened to me. But I've taken that as a way that has empowered me to be able to speak about it and also to help others when I do readings and, people just having a spiritual conversation with someone who has had something really bad happen to them, especially as a child. Now, getting back to the religion, saying that we've chosen the path before we came here um, that we were going to take. And for me, that religion was part of my path. And I'm so happy in a way, it's hard for me to say that I've had that foundation, even though it wasn't the correct foundation, even though many things were wrong about it, there's a history there that I was able to take from the texts of the Bible to help understand the beginnings of humankind and how we kind of came to, even though it really doesn't start at the beginning, that's only a part of our history of being here on Earth. But if I didn't have that background since I was a child, that deep understanding, that history from the Bible, I wouldn't be able to understand what I understand now. So that's where the point I was trying to. Sometimes I have to go around and around to try to get to the point I'm trying to make to you guys. But hopefully you understand what I'm saying. And I've done a video on this, several videos on do your research, 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 research. It's not for me to tell you something. It's not for another YouTuber to tell you. It's not for a pastor to tell you. It is for you to do your own research and to figure it out, and asking the universe for help to show you the right path. Which way should I go? You're going to receive the answers. Okay. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you again for being here. If you would like a reading, please find a link below to book time with me, and I'll see you in the next one.